Salutations to those who are young and young at heart. Oremi, Madamfo, Enyim, Salam alaikum, Hola, buena gente, Bonjour, la gente, Linja, Dumelang, Murigaboto, Muliwanji, Murigaboto, Makadin, Karibu, Mwakaitawani, Munotambere. Welcome to Blackview SDA online platform. This is a place where your soul will find rest. Did you know every Wednesday and Friday at 6:15 p.m. we have consistent midweek prayers? Not only that, during the day from Monday to Friday, if you need a soulful song, please tune into our platform and indeed you'll find rest for your soul. On Sabbath, which is Saturday, we have services from 8:30 right up to 6 p.m. What do you expect to find? We have got the church at study, Sabbath school, music. It's story time. Even our little ones, the children, will find solace on Blackview online worship platforms. Yes, not only are they going to receive a powerful sermon for them, but including the songs, and they'll sing the songs of Zion in the comfort of your home. Yes, you are waiting for the power hour as we receive the beautiful words, the wonderful words that come from the Word of God. In the afternoon, we have got powerful discussions, not only for the young, but even for the old, as we prepare this journey on this planet Earth before the sundown. Yes, there is a sermon that will usher you into the new week as you listen to God speak to you. What are you waiting for? Tell your friends about it. Don't forget to join us on YouTube and Facebook. Like our page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. God bless you as we meet on Blackview online worship platform.
Nobody can stop me. Don't you wanna go? I'm going there. Nobody can stop me. Lord, you know my wicked nature. Lord, you know my sinful stature. I can hide it from my friends, but you, Lord, read through my heart. Lord, you know my wicked nature. Lord, you know my sinful stature. I can hide it from my friends, but you, Lord, read through my heart. Forgive me, oh Lord, wash away my sins, create in me, God, a clean heart. Forgive me, oh Lord, wash away my sins, create in me, God, a clean heart. All the things you do in secret, all the things you do alone, shall be known when He cometh on that great judgment day. All the things you do in secret, all the things you do alone, shall be known when He cometh on that great judgment day. All the things you do in secret, all the things you do alone, shall be known when He cometh on that great judgment day. So help me to be faithful, Lord, help me to be true, so I may be an example and lead many to Christ. So help me to be faithful, Lord, help me to be true, so I may be an example and lead many to Christ.
Welcome to Awakening Africa, a show that discusses education in Africa, religious issues in Africa, even developmental issues in Africa. So much is being discussed around the world, talking about why Africa this and why Africa that. This week we continue with Dr. Mushalika on the issues that pertain to the welfare of Africa as we endeavor to understand the history, the present, and the future of Africa. Welcome, my name is Dr. J Mushalika, and I am your host on this show, and I'm welcoming Dr. Mushalika Joseph. Hi, my friend.
Thank you, Gigi. You sound very energetic. You're
very energetic indeed. I'm a proper African.
Yes, you are.
Just to get into the discussion, last week we looked at the history of how Africa is being looked at, what the positives are and what the negatives are. And also, we looked at issues that pertain to what our children and ourselves have learned throughout the past. How do we now look forward to a level where we understand these things? Especially today, I think I need to be biased with education. Okay, a few months ago, you went viral on Facebook, on WhatsApp, and everything else. You were condemning issues to do with education, and you actually called it a rubbish system to the system. So I'm intrigued to really want to understand why you take that position as a doctor in the same field.
Thank you so much. I like the last part where you want to bribe me into accepting it as being normal. You know? One way of proving you are normal is to understand that no matter how long you have been on a wrong path, when you are corrected, you should know you are wrong.
Is it?
Okay. I've seen people who believe because I went through the same system, because I was taught proconsul, because I memorized, they believe, look, how can you condemn something which has put you where you are?
Yeah.
And I wonder who told them I'm happy with where I am. Because if I had gotten through a proper education system, as instituted by God, I should have been at a different position now. More help to people, less selfish.
Okay.
Because the school system teaches selfishness. You will remember that when you were in grade 1, you were told, hide your book, your friends should not see what you're writing. You know, who is copying. And even as early as grade 1, there will be an invigilator walking around, making sure that you're not sharing with anyone. You know? And so through that, we have become people who are not ready to share with anyone. Anyway, let's get back to the point. You have talked about what we did in the previous sharing. Yeah. And I remember very well in the previous sharing, your focus was how did we get to where we are? Yeah. And my presentation was talking about, look, we have been normal people from creation, except that what has been damaged in us is self-esteem. Okay. And today you are saying, so how does education play that role of diminishing self-esteem? For starters, let me refer back to the video you have referred to, where I talked about the ills of the school system that came with the missionary and was passed on to the colonizer and was passed on to the independent African government. Now, you will agree with me that Africans have not been blank people.
Of course.
You know, and we need to have that agreement as Africans. We have not been blank people. We, before the coming of the missionary, were able to make sense of our environment. We were able to make tools that we needed. We were able to make food that we needed. We were able to treat disease. Yeah. And at one time on this show, we'll be talking about health, how it has been damaged through this. Now, here is the challenge I have with the school system. The challenge I have is, look, when you take a school system whose only purpose is to create an employee, that is dangerous.
Okay.
Okay. When you take a school system that is meant to create an employee, that is dangerous. Now look at what has happened over time. When we moved away from our skills-based school system and moved on to the employment-based school system, what did we do? We focused our teaching on one thing, ability to remember.
Okay.
And that is why in the video you talk about, I said, people are graduates from the school of remembering.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember.
So your capacity is measured by your ability to remember at the expense of your ability to do.
Okay.
Okay. So you get into a school system where you are taught a language and you need to memorize the words. You need to repeat the words. You are taught how to read and you are taught how to count. And the purpose of that teaching is that your aptitude is measured by the extent to which you can remember. Okay? I'm sure you'll recall that in primary school we went through repetition.
Yeah, we did that.
We went through repetition, you know. This is a man. Again, this is a man. The man is digging. Again, the man is digging. Okay? And we went on and on and on.
Yeah.
Come to examination. When it came to assessment, something which is very critical in measuring whether someone has learnt or not, we were accused of being intelligent based on what we were able to remember. Okay? So, what is my criticism of that system? My criticism of the system is that it produces a person who cannot do anything unless he's employed by a system that uses his memory. I will repeat that. A person who goes through this school system cannot do anything with himself.
Okay.
Unless he is employed by a system that depends on his ability to remember.
So if this guy cannot remember or cannot be employed by any system, he is irrelevant to society.
Well, you can say he's relevant, but not so much relevant to himself. I'll explain what that is. You know, every person is fearfully and wonderfully made and has a purpose to contribute to the well-being of the world. Now, primarily, I know people might misunderstand this. No person is created to be an employee.
Okay.
Especially if you are God's child.
Is it?
You are not created to be an employee because you are not expected to have any other master apart from God.
Sure.
Okay. You are not expected to have any other master apart from God. In other words, you do not need to get permission from a fellow employee to go and worship. I mean, from a fellow human being to go and worship.
Yeah.
But those that are weak in the area of creating their own jobs become means of production in the hands of those who think hard enough to produce jobs.
That's quite hard stuff you're talking about. But you see, my interest today really is we are going to talk about this book that you have written.
Yeah.
It's called Dead School, Liberate Our Children.
Yeah.
Since we are focusing on education, and you have written quite extensively on issues that have destroyed, that are not relevant in the school system, as well as what we can do towards that. But what we can do, I think we'll talk about it next week. But today I want us to focus on what is wrong with this education system that you are criticizing so much, so much that you have even written a book on that one.
You see, there is a misunderstanding in Africa where we think school is buildings and teachers.
Okay.
School is curriculum.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when we talk about curriculum, we are talking about the sum total of a school system. Okay. And the person who comes out of this school system, whatever he becomes, is what the curriculum put in him.
Yes.
So why do I call our school system dead school? Very simple reason. It produces people who can do nothing unless they are employed. Okay?
Wow.
So how did that come about? And that's your big question.
Yeah.
How that came about is that people in Africa were moved away from making improvements to the things in their society. And were moved to a school where they were memorizing, where they were experimenting. A school system that focused on logic, questions and answers, can you remember? A school system that was devoid of interacting with nature. You know, I have visited schools in Zambia, in Malawi, in Zimbabwe, in Europe, wherever. In Africa, a teacher will be teaching the parts of a plant in a classroom with a tree outside.
Okay.
So the essence of this teaching is for these pupils to memorize.
To memorize,
the
not to
parts
see.
Of a plant. But even when you have memorized the parts of a plant, if you are not going to go to the so what, then what is the purpose of that education?
The so what?
Why am I knowing the parts of a grasshopper? What is the so what? Why am I defining photosynthesis? What is the so what? Why should I know the parts of a grasshopper without the so what? So let's take it the other way.
Yeah.
I'll ask you a question. Why do you think Japanese children make cell phones and African children make nothing?
At grade 5.
Why do we have every complete product made in Indonesia, made in Malaysia, made in UK, made in the States? Tell me, what is made in Africa? Okay. And when you look at it, almost every raw material that makes what they make comes from Africa.
Yeah.
So is it that Africans are too dumb? Is it that Africans can't make anything? The simple thing is, look at it. In the African school system, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Malawi, name it, especially this part of Africa, a child is supposed to do 9 subjects.
Yeah.
Primary school.
Yeah.
So you're doing religious education, you're doing social studies, you're doing science, you're doing mathematics, you're doing home economics, you're doing agric, you're doing community studies.
And English.
English is compulsory. Okay. Now, with these 9 subjects, what kind of person are you trying to produce? Okay. What kind of person are you trying to produce? I have been privileged to visit our friends. A child who has been identified as having a talent in music will do the other subjects that are relevant to his music career.
Yeah.
Okay? So probably they'll learn some language because you need it in music.
Yeah.
They'll learn some mathematics because you might need it to calculate your money.
Yeah.
But the focus will be music. A child who has interest in agriculture will focus on understanding crops, understanding soils, understanding these things. But here, you are coming from agric, you are going to RI. And that RI, you are studying Muslims, you are studying Hindus, you are studying Africans. What exactly are you trying to produce? And now look at where we are today. Times have changed. And the greatest number of people who are failing to fit into changing times is Africa.
Yeah.
I'll give you examples. Because the school system was created to create employees, and for a time it made sense, because anyone who went to teacher training had a job as a teacher. Anyone who went to do nursing had a job as a nurse. Anyone who went to an agricultural college had a job in agriculture. Today, what has happened? Today, we have universities at every corner.
Yeah.
We have colleges at every corner. We have secondary schools at every corner. The number of graduates we are producing is massive. Tell me the number of jobs available. So what has happened to Africa as a result of a school system that makes you make no sense of your environment is that we now have frustrated, jobless graduates in literally every corner. Every political campaign, be it in Malawi, in Zambia, in Zimbabwe, the candidates are talking about, we will create jobs.
Yeah.
Without the how.
Yeah.
We will create jobs without the how. And so what has happened is we are now faced with a situation where you have angry youths
Frustrated.
who have gone to school. And all the years they spent in school, they were looking forward to one day when they will sit on another desk to write reports. They will sit on a desk to get a salary. But that is no longer there. Notwithstanding, Africa still remains with rivers, still remains with land, remains with wildlife, remains with all these things that youths can use to create their own jobs. But think about it. 16 years, you were sitting behind a desk.
Yeah.
16 years. You started sitting behind a desk when you were 7. 16 years down the line, you are 23. You have been trained to live by sitting.
Just hold that thought. Dead school. We will be back shortly. We will be talking issues pertaining to life itself in Africa. We'll be talking about education. We'll be talking about religion. We'll be talking about business. Even just why has Africa taken time to develop?
They brought a school system which did not promote thinking but promoted remembering for the sake of creating good employees who don't think but can remember. The school system where you learnt useless Homo habilis, who was Shaka's man. What is the longest river in Africa? Tell me, what is the use of that rubbish? So you went into school and you were studying how many times Muslims pray per day. You wake up at night to study how many times Muslims. So you memorize photosynthesis. You memorize how many teeth a dog has. You memorize everything. And at the end of the day, what did they produce? They produced someone who was a container of useless knowledge. Now, it sounds like we have now broken through. We haven't. Africa has remained a continent without an identity. It is a continent without an identity. And the first thing you need to develop is to understand who you are. Okay?
Welcome back to Awakening Africa. As your host, Chelo Gigi, I'm glad to inform you that we are discussing dead school. Why is Dr. Mushalika calling this school system dead, especially for Africa? Now, Dr. Mushalika, I want you to refer to one of the chapters in your book, which is talking about the curriculum which does not apply to our lives now, which has been around for a long time. I'm sure you've already referred to it as something that took time. For a period of time it worked, but for now, how is it destroying our people if we were to continue using the same dead curriculum?
I mean, look, I'll tell you something. In the work of COVID, what has happened?
Yeah.
In the work of COVID, the world is now appreciating the role of technology. Okay? It is now appreciating the role of technology.
Yeah.
And those that have developed their curriculum around changing times are making money out of the COVID situation. Look at how the young men who have done cloud, the young men who have done WhatsApp, the young men who have done Facebook, they have become billionaires.
Zoom, yeah?
Zoom,
that guy became a billionaire.
Billionaire,
yeah.
Zoom, okay? Now, why hasn't an African done that? It is because even when you have computer studies on the timetable of an African, the content is about labeling the parts of the computer.
Oh my God.
The content is about labeling the parts. What? And discussing what the part does. Okay? So in essence, you are not developing a technologically able person.
Child.
You are developing a person who knows the parts of a computer. I can bring you examination papers here from ICT. And you'll be shocked to find that starting from primary school to secondary school to whatever level, we are not talking about innovation. We are not talking about creativity. We are not talking about ability to use what is available to create what is not available. We are developing people who can name who has done what. Okay? Who is the founder of Microsoft? You get such a stupid question in an exam. Okay? Who is the founder of Microsoft?
Wow.
So if I know the founder of Microsoft, so what?
So now, it's for you, I think we're going to discuss the so what in our next episode. I don't want to be tempted to go there, but I'm looking at this school curriculum that is available now. Should we say it should be scrapped off? Is it as useless as you call it rubbish?
Good question. The reason why I use statements like this is rubbish. We need to make people angry enough to realize that this is nonsensical. And
Okay.
I have no apologies for that. You know,
Okay.
this is nonsensical. Because for those of the viewers who might be educationists, you will remember that during the colonial era, every African country that was colonized, especially by Britain, had a director for native education and a director for European education. And I have had the privilege of reading books on the rationale of native education and the rationale of European education in Africa. Dr. Geoffrey Latham was director of native education for Zambia and Zimbabwe. And when you read the book, which they were using for developing African education, the statement says, school the African child as a source of cheap labor. So the purpose of the school was to create cheap labor. Okay? Now, European education, what was the rationale? It was to develop minds that would fully use what is available in Africa. So this is why you get a situation. Travel in the breadth of Central Africa. What are you going to find? The biggest dairy farmer is white. The farm manager is black. Okay? The wheat producer is white. The workers are black. And some of these workers are graduates, masters in agricultural science. But this graduate with a master's in agricultural science was never given capacity to start his own farm. When I talk about capacity, I'm not talking about bank loans. Was never given a mental capacity to start his own farm. It is only African children with degrees in agriculture who leave their father's land to go and look for a job
In another
to produce cabbages on another piece of land so that they are paid once a month.
So the education system robs our children of the initiative to develop their own land.
I'll tell you, proper education system, regardless of race, is the system that was introduced by God, the Creator.
And what is that?
What does God do? When God creates man, how is the education system? He places him in a place of production.
Okay.
So the education system of God is cultivate this land, name these animals. Okay? This is to Adam. So what you see in God's education system is about instructions. Here is an instruction to do this. Okay? And then the next thing you notice with God's education system, it is hands-on. It is hands-on. So you don't just talk, you don't just memorize, you do. Okay? And the next aspect is that it is production-based. This is why when you read the Bible, train up the child in the way he should go. And when he's old, he will not depart from it. And it comes true for Africa. Train a child to sit on a desk from preschool to university. And when they are old, they will not depart from a chair.
Now, let's take it back though. I shudder at the thought because I asked you a question last week to say where was Africa when the Europeans were doing this? Now, since we have realized that they've given us a rubbish, a curriculum, why are we still continuing to use the same curriculum to teach to our children a curriculum that has not helped us, a curriculum that has graduated, like you have rightly said, a graduate in agriculture, instead of graduating and he goes to the farm where we have plenty of land, he cannot produce cabbages at his place, even at a garden behind his house. He'd rather go and look for a job. Now, why are we still doing that? Because I want you to address the issue of the Africans themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I like it, Dr. Chelo, because that moves away from blame.
Yeah.
Because many people believe, why are you still blaming them? They left a long time ago. No, we need to understand where we are coming from. And at this stage, we as Africans must stand up and speak to each other and agree that this is wrong. And I'm happy. I can mention some people here. I love what Joshua Maponga is trying to do.
Okay.
Of course, people may have their own misunderstandings about certain things, but he is right when he says you cannot use an African head to think Europe. You know, this is an identity crisis.
Okay.
It is an identity crisis. Because when God places people in a particular territory, he gives them capacity with which they use to survive in that territory.
Okay.
So when you import thinking, when you import thinking without importing the environment,
Yeah.
you cannot survive.
Amen.
Okay? So you have imported thinking, but you have not imported the environment. So you can't survive in that environment. So the big question you're asking is, with all this awareness, and that is why now this program is Awakening Africa. And we are speaking to people who run education. The ministers, the presidents, the directors, the permanent secretaries. We know you are on salary. We know you feed from this system. And we know there are donors who fund the continuity of a dead system. Okay? Because these are the same people. Look, Gigi, you cannot trust a descendant of someone who enslaved you.
Okay.
You cannot trust a descendant of someone who enslaved you.
Yeah.
Okay? So, how we continue to trust people that made us slaves? How we continue to trust people who colonized us? That they can continue funding what will liberate us? This beats me. At this stage, here is what we need to do. And it has already begun piecemeal. I'm saying piecemeal. We now have introduction of production units in schools. Zimbabwe, I was there. We now have introduction of practical skills. But the African is failing to do one thing. Remove what we don't need.
But what is wrong? That's why I want you to.
I'll tell you what is wrong.
To hit the nail on the head.
I'll tell you
what is wrong with our people, especially these people who promise these things before elections, and when they get into office and they don't do anything about it.
Courage. Courage. Courage and the fear of what will they think about me. You know, this world, Gigi, this world is changed by people who are ready to break rules that have been wrong. That is what this world must become. You know, when you think about people that have transformed society, Martin Luther Jr., you know, when you think about reformers in the church, when you look at all these people were heavily misunderstood. And why? Because the education system brought by the European does not tolerate thinking, it tolerates compliancy.
Is it?
You need to comply. You need to comply. You know, I'll tell you, I was reading old books for Zambia and Zimbabwe many years ago. They were still written, who was the first man to visit the Victoria Falls? And the answer was David Livingstone. Okay. It's only recently that we began to say, there are people who were there.
Yes.
Before Livingstone came.
He was shot.
There are people who took it there. So now we just changed and said, who was the first white man? Okay. We just changed and included who was the first white man.
But do we?
Now that I've said there's no white man, probably in the future, someone will say, who was the pink man? Okay. So, clearly, look at the blacks in America. What makes the blacks in America hate their fellow blacks? If you were to go to the United States of America today, the people that will make sure you don't succeed
Are the blacks.
Are the blacks. Now, if you want a whole city to die, poison the source of the river where they get their water. So what has made the Africans anti-African? It is because education is the source. So when you have a poisoned system that has created unhealthy competition, a poisoned system that has created compliance as opposed to thinking. It produces an African who is poisoned. So when you talk about our political leaders, our government leaders, we need to understand, and I hope those that will listen to this, you need to understand that, sit back and ask yourself a question. Are we on the right track? Look, when Africans leave Africa to go to Europe, they die across the Mediterranean Sea. They get into Europe, they are searched, they are brutalized. They are given names. When the European is coming to Africa, we line up to receive him. What? Okay. Now, the school system made an African feel less human. The school system. It makes the African feel less human. Okay? And this is why if you go to Zim and ask, what is the local name for white man or European man? It's Murungu. Now, when you look at Murungu, Murungu is God.
Yeah.
Murungu is God.
Now, Dr. Joseph, Dr. Joseph, what I just want us to delve on the core of our distraction. Why is it that when people get educated, seemingly schooled, not educated, but schooled in this dead school system, why is it that they always prefer to go and work from Europe or from America, from outside their country, than returning back in their country? What makes people think in that way? Because
the school system fits there. It's imported thinking. So it fits where it was imported from. Okay? And this is why, go to our villages. People that have not been adulterated, people have not been polluted. They grow their vegetables, they keep their chickens, they keep their goats, they keep their cattle. They have nothing to do with GDP. Okay. They have nothing to do with all these calculations you make about poverty levels. They have nothing to do with that. They grow their pumpkin leaves, they mix it with pounded groundnuts. There's no malnutrition.
Yeah.
Now, here is what Africa needed to do. Africa needed a school system that would improve what we already are. Okay? When you leave the village and get into the city, what do? To show that your life has been upgraded, you eat junk food. Okay? Just to show that your life has been upgraded, you want this half-cooked chicken and chips dipped in oil. And today, obesity, all sorts of diseases, because the imported knowledge does not fit in this environment. So we appreciate some things.
Okay.
Instead of just getting critical all the way, we appreciate some things. True, we need doctors. True, we need nurses. True, we need teachers. True, we need lawyers. But they must fit into the African context. I was talking to a very senior magistrate, and what she told me amazed me. She said, look, I've always heard you criticize education, doctors, teachers. Why haven't you criticized lawyers? Because do you know that in African jurisdiction, we still refer to laws made in 1800?
What?
Yes. It's called common law.
And it's not even the law of Africa.
It's not the law of Africa.
It's European law.
It's European law. And so our lawyers are sitting to judge citizens based on a law that is not African.
That's not very fair.
Every field you look at, you can go to our parliaments.
What?
Today, 2020, you still have your speakers of the National Assembly wearing wigs in summer.
That are white. Why do they wear those wigs that are white?
Imported thinking. Imported thinking.
It's just that time is not with us. But I want you to conclude on the aspect of the dead school. I know we're looking at it in the next episode, but what could be your concluding remarks on the same dead school? What has gone wrong so that we can pick it up in the next
Here is what we need to do.
Yeah.
There's a church I know which has a very big motto. which says educate the head, the heart, and the hand.
Just keep it there.
Educate the head, the heart, and the hand. The concluding remark, Doctor, is that any working school system should develop mental faculties, inculcate values in the learner, and make the learner productive. If you don't do that, it's a dead school.
Wow. That's wonderful. I like talking to this man, but I'm sure you've enjoyed our episode this day. We wish you to come again next week and be part of this section as we continue to look at now the second part of his book, where he's talking about liberate our children. How should the education system liberate all of us? Thank you so much. My name is Chelo Gigi. I've been your host. Thank you for watching. See you next time.
Sizohlangana phesheya umasingobile sizobonana phesheya emsini wangelisono sizobonana labangane abasijiyayo kudala sibona uMoses khanyele buntu bese sinqobile isono na yusathane sebonana lamakama sebexoxelwa khona ngayebizwa amakama mangcwele kambelami solithola kuba njani sesimbona amakamba mangcwele kambelami solithola khoba ayisesimbona
we shall be gathering glory land, and in the victor's band we shall gather in glory land. Yes, the land of purity, meeting with the dead in Christ once more. Sin and distress never to more last. We shall meet over there with my Jesus Christ. Sin is defeated and dark is past. The devil destroyed at last. We shall meet over there when the roll is cold up yonder.
When the roll is cold up yonder, I'll be there.
Will I see my Jesus?
On the page is white
When we see
Jesus Christ the crucified, for salvation, catch a glimpse of Nell's car. When the roll is cold up yonder, I'll be there.
Will you see our Jesus?
His mind and on the page is white when we see Jesus Christ the crucified, for salvation, catch a glimpse of Nell's car.
Oh, Miami Swamp, amakamba mangwele solithola khoba ayisesimbona
I'm on my way to Canada.
Salutations to those who are young and young at heart. Oremi, Madamfo, Enyi, Salam alaikum, Hola, buena gente, Bonjour, legend, Linja, Dumelang, Murigaboto, Muliwanji, Murigaboto, Makadin, Karibu, Mwakaitawani, Munotambere. Welcome to Blackview SDA online platform. This is a place where your soul will find rest. Did you know every Wednesday and Friday at 6:15 p.m. we have consistent midweek prayers? Not only that, during the day from Monday to Friday, if you need a soulful song, please tune into our platform and indeed you'll find rest for your soul. On Sabbath, which is Saturday, we have services from 8:30 right up to 6 p.m. What do you expect to find? We have got the church at study, Sabbath school, music, it's story time. Even our little ones, the children, will find solace on Blafu online worship platforms. Yes, not only are they going to receive a powerful sermon for them, but including the songs, and they'll sing the songs of Zion in the comfort of your home. Yes, you are waiting for the power hour as we receive the beautiful words, the wonderful words that come from the Word of God. In the afternoon, we have got powerful discussions, not only for the young, but even for the old, as we prepare this journey on this planet Earth before the sundown. Yes, there is a sermon that will usher you into the new week as you listen to God speak to you. What are you waiting for? Tell your friends about it. Don't forget to join us on YouTube and Facebook. Like our page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. God bless you as we meet on Blafu online worship platform.
Nobody